Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so utterly thrilled that it is finally September in the fall. This is my favorite time of the year. As you can see, I already have a little sweater vest on, even though it is literally 85 degrees outside right now, but I am still fully embracing the fall vibes that are around me. I am yet to get a pumpkin iced chai. I'm waiting till it cools down a little bit more so I can just sit outside and enjoy a nice cool breeze in a sweater with my chai. But anyways, today is going to be a chatty little video because we have wrapped up August month of reading and it was such a good month, guys. I read so many fantastic and unexpected reads during this month, and I also missed a lot of reads that I planned on reading, so those have been pushed into my September TBR, which I'm also going to be talking about today. I have so many books on my TBR. I actually have created this whole Notion page that has like my TBR on it. It has reviews of books on it, and it is so endlessly long, and I add to it probably every single day. One thing that has happened with creating like book talk and bookstick content is I have so many people now recommending books to me, which I love so much, but I just need more time. I need more time. There are so many good books out there, and I'm just gonna try to tackle some of them in September, I guess. But before we hop into this video, I want to introduce myself if you are new here. So glad to have you. My name is Haley. I love creating content about lifestyle, tech tips, Notion, books, productivity, etc. And I'm so glad you are here, especially if you are a book lover like me, because it is just so fun chatting about books. Even if I only have 5 to 10 people watching this, just the ability to converse about what we're reading, share what we're reading is so much fun, and I'm glad that you're here. We're gonna start off first with what I read in August. I'm holding 2 books here, but that's because I only actually own 2 of the books I read. So I read a ton of my books on Libby and Kindle Unlimited. I love being able to check out books from the library. I am a huge believer in just owning books, either special editions or books that I truly love and want to reread. So I'm not generally going out and buying books unless I know I'm going to love them, or in some cases I actually have a book subscription, so that's kind of where I get my surprise books from. I read 11 books in the month of August, and like I said, it was such a fantastic reading month. I do have to say, I did not read for like probably the last week of August because I was busy traveling, seeing family, etc. And when I'm there, it's really hard for me to focus. I also have a really hard time reading on planes, whether it's a physical book or a Kindle. I really struggle with focusing and being able to immerse myself into the story. So I just kind of skipped a lot of books, but I still somehow got through 11. And I think the reason is because I started this Woven Kingdom series. Now, this is the second book for those of you that probably already know these Infinite Threads, but this Woven Kingdom, so many people have been telling me that I need to read this book. My younger 15-year-old sister has been begging me for like the past almost year to finally read this series, and I've been putting it off, and finally I was like, fine, I'll pick it up. And oh my gosh, guys, when I tell you I have wasted so much time because this is one of my new favorite series. There are 3 books out currently at the time of me filming this video. I read all 3 in the month of August, and actually at the end of September, the 4th book finally comes out, which I'm so excited for. How can I describe this series? I would say exquisite yearning. Like, if you are a lover of Mr. Darcy, if you are a lover of like a slow burn, true yearning from both sides, then like this series is so for you. If you're like curious for a synopsis, we basically live in this world where we have Jinn and humans. They were in a war for a while but came to a peace treaty, but the peace treaty was kind of not great for Jinn because they're not really allowed to use their magic and they're kind of mistreated by humans, particularly in the kingdom where we find our main characters. Our FMC in this book is a Jinn and she is a servant in this human household, and she is very mysterious and like hides herself. So there's some mystery that you're trying to figure out, like, why is she hiding herself? Why is she doing these things, etc. And we also are introduced to Cameron in this book, and he is the prince of the kingdom. This book definitely takes a minute to get into. I myself took a little bit. It probably took about halfway through the book for me to feel a lot more invested in it. And I always say, like, that happens a lot with really, really great series. It also happens a lot with books that aren't good. So I will say, if you are kind of struggling with the beginning of this, just keep reading because it is totally worth it. It picks up. There's so much mystery, particularly in the first book, that you're having to uncover. So I think some of that kind of makes you feel a little bit standoffish from the characters until you understand their story a little bit more. I feel like I equally love like the romance as well as like the mystery and the plot behind the story, and I thought it was such a fun read. I read all three in like maybe 3 or 4 days. I just sped through them because each one kind of ends in a huge cliffhanger, including the last one. I think this author has created such an enchanting world. You also get introduced to not only some really great main characters, but this little bundle of side characters that had me laughing out loud in like the second and third books. They're very hilarious. They're a fun little bit of comedy and a bit of like seriousness that is happening throughout the book, which I love. I think it's so special for an author to be able to balance like comedic characters alongside really serious moments without them coming off as annoying. And they are like my favorite characters. I want more of them in these books. So anyways, that was a lot of chatting, but I loved these so much. I gave them between 4 and 4.5 stars because I couldn't put them down, and I need the fourth book immediately. If you have read these, if you know the cliffhanger, guys, we need the fourth book now. Okay, so my next read is A Forbidden Alchemy. I have been seeing this book online everywhere. It had me really intrigued. It also had a beautiful side panel, and so I decided to just pick it up. I had no idea what it was about, and I'm pretty glad that I did. Now, a lot of people have been rating this 5 stars. I personally could not feel myself getting fully invested in the characters and their stories, so I rated it about a 3.75 to a 4. However, I do think the writing, the messages that the author is getting across politically about the political climate of this book, what the characters are going through between kind of different factions, and how growing up poor can affect like the rest of your life and your opportunities. So I think that was really well done. I think the uprising and the rebellion that's described in this is actually very, very realistic. I feel like a lot of times in books when we have uprisings, a lot of times they are hyper realistic. They're over the top. They're always, the uprising is good, like everyone in it is good and doing good. But I feel like this really balances the humanity really well in the book, while also being like a fantasy book where people have magical powers. If you're interested in this book, basically we have our 2 main characters, and they grow up poor in mining towns, and when everyone turns 12, they're taken basically to the city where they take this test to determine if they are an artisan or not. Artisan basically means they can use magic, and there's different types of magic like earth magic, water magic, like tons of wielding types. And if not, then basically you are bound to a life of poverty where you live in small mining towns. You're basically just mining. You don't have a really great opportunities or lifestyle. And this is not a spoiler, but they basically find out that everything is not what it seems, and people aren't born with powers. They're actually chosen to be given powers. And so we see this power balance between the rich and the poor and how our main characters navigate it is so interesting. It's so human-like, so realistic. And yeah, I think when I first read it, I wanted all the characters to be like perfect. I think a lot of times we want to see our characters as winning and heroic and making good choices. And I think this book just shows a lot more realism of like what people would actually be doing in real life in this type of situation. So overall, I totally recommend it. I think people will really like it. If you like more, it's almost like has a dystopian type feel to it. So very interesting. Now we're gonna chat about romance books because I read my favorite summer romance series or set of books during August, and that was Every Summer After and One Golden Summer. Now, yes, I know everyone has read this or has been told to read this, and I just want to say it is totally worth it. You do need to read it. It is the most quintessential summer series I've ever read in my entire life. Like, if you want to feel like how you felt in the summer in your childhood, whether you grew up on a lake or not, like this book captures that nostalgia and those feelings and the, you know, joys and struggles of growing up through childhood so well. Another thing that's wild is this book is dual POV, and I hate most multi-POV books. I would rather just have one main character following their storyline. I love the mystery of trying to figure out what the other characters are thinking. I think also when we have more than two and we're following different storylines, it gets really jumbled up, but we have two POVs in this, and I think it is one of the best dual POVs that I've ever read in my life. Now, I do want to say, I created a TikTok video when I first read Every Summer After because I had many mixed feelings about the book. There is something that happens in the book that I don't necessarily love, and I don't love how it was kind of glossed over. Now, looking back at the book, like, I understand why it was glossed over because that wasn't necessarily what we were trying to focus on in the story. And it also really wasn't glossed over in the character's own story. It was just, it wasn't explained to me as the reader. And so looking at it that way, I now understand like why the author wrote it in that way and why it would have been weird to write longer about this, you know, situation. So I was kind of going back and forth between like 2 and like 4.5 stars, but I am now changing my vote to 4.5 stars. I loved it so much. If you're curious about it, basically we are following the story of this girl who grows up going to this lake over the summer, and where she basically meets these two brothers. She, you know, is of course falling in love with one of them, but we're going back between their storyline because something happened, and we're going kind of back and forth between present day, where it's 10 years past when this couple has basically broken things off, and then from the beginning of their story and kind of meeting in the middle. One Golden Summer then follows the story of the other brother in this series, and it actually is from just one POV and from the POV of the FMC that he has interest in, but I think it is another really sweet book. It was a little slow at moments, and I really actually wanted the dual POV because since we already had the brother introduced to us and learned a lot about him in the Every Summer After, I wanted to hear his perspective on things from that book and then also from One Golden Summer. But overall, I rated that one 4 stars. I recommend them, guys. They are just the most quintessential summer read ever. You need to read them. You need to be like sitting outside, have a nice like lemonade or glass of water, and just read these books. They are so refreshing. Next book. I need everyone to drop everything and read this now. I'm being totally serious. This was my favorite fantasy so far of 2025. It is so well done. It is a standalone, guys, can we say a hallelujah? No cliffhangers, no waiting for sequels. And that book is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. If you're familiar with Rebecca Ross, she did Divine Rivals. I have mixed feelings about Divine Rivals. When I was reading the books, I did really enjoy them, but I wanted to know more about the mythology, and I feel like we glossed over the gods and the goddesses, and I kind of rated those between like 3.5 and 4 stars. But this book solely focuses on the mythology and the world of the gods and goddesses that take place before the Divine Rivals. And oh my goodness, guys, this is one of the most poetic, beautiful books I have ever gotten to read. I will reread this over and over again. Like, truly, I loved it so much. I actually got it as an ARC through NetGalley. I finally signed up for NetGalley. It was my second ARC that I received. I read it right away and I loved it so much. So the book actually just came out yesterday when I'm recording this video. It is just such a beautiful, beautiful, well-written story about this young goddess just kind of coming into herself and coming to trust herself and trust others. There's so much growth in this. The romance is so soft and gentle and genuine. I truly loved it so much. I went to this conference for my husband and I was waiting for him to finish things up, and I literally sat and read this book for like 5 hours. I read it in one read and it took my breath away. It is, I don't know what else to say other than it is such an excellent book, and I want everyone to read it. I think it's Rebecca's best book she has ever written. I think she needs to fully lean into this like mythology and different world creation, because I think she does it so well, and the way that she writes is so ethereal, and I think it pairs really well with this world of mythology that she's able to bring in this book. Next one, this one is a really quick overview because truly I can't even remember honestly reading this book, but it's Collide. It is a general hockey romance. I just wanted to pick up, you know, quick romance, guys. Sometimes you are reading a ton of fantasy and you just need something light to read. I rated this 2 stars. I honestly wasn't really invested in the characters or their story, and like I said, I unfortunately could not even tell you what this is about, other than it's a hockey romance. So take that as you will, also with a grain of salt, because I'm not a big romance reader. So I'm really picky about the romances that I like to read. So this one wasn't for me, but I think other people will enjoy it. I don't think it was a poorly written book. I think it was a well-written book. I just really wasn't interested in the storyline myself. And lastly, I just started a new Kindle Unlimited series. It's called A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly. So this I've been seeing pop up on my book talk, and so many people have been saying this is like the new Throne of Glass book. And I was like, I'm always like, okay, I'll take it and read it. And I want to say, me personally, I don't really view this on the same level of A Throne of Glass. Don't get me wrong, this was a great vibe read. I enjoyed reading it, but this is a very typical romantasy with a lot of tropes that you're seeing over and over again. It's pretty predictable in what you're reading. We have fays, we have humans, they're against each other. Our main character is half fae, so she's kind of navigating between fays and humans. She's also under this contract under the evil fae king, where she basically has to do what he says. It was such a fun read. I really enjoyed the ride that we were on. It's a book of trials where she's going through these actual competitive trials. So again, a very typical romantasy that we're going through. She's keeping secrets. She's falling in love with a competitor. It was a fun read. So I rated it 3.5 stars. I'm going to have the other books in the series in my September TBR because I do want to keep reading it. But I do want to say I do not think it is on the Throne of Glass level. Sorry for everyone who thinks it is. I'm so glad that you love it as much as Throne of Glass, but I just don't think the writing and the plot line is quite at the depth and level that Sarah J. Maas is able to execute in the Throne of Glass series. But overall, if you are someone like me that loves a vibe romantasy read, that loves the predictability of reading those sometimes, of reading tropes and things that you'll probably see in other series, then A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly is probably something that you will enjoy. Okay guys, so that's everything I read in August. Like I said, it was a pretty fantastic reading month, so I have very, very, very high hopes for September, and I have a lot of really good books lined up for my TBR, so let's run through them really quickly. I have a mix of audiobooks, Kindle Unlimited books, and also a bunch of Fairy Loot Special Edition books that I need to read through, so it's gonna be a good month, I think. But starting out, I have to tell you guys the truth. I am not an audiobook listener. I unfortunately cannot focus or listen to an audiobook. I used to listen to them like 8 years ago all the time, but at some point I somehow lost the ability to focus for more than 10 seconds, probably because of social media. But I just space out and daydream every time I have something that I'm listening to in my ear. And I've just been so jealous of people that read audio or listen to audiobooks, because you can do that when you are, driving, when you're walking, when you're doing chores and dishes, basically anytime you can't read a book, but you also aren't doing anything that involves a lot of brain activity. I just want to be an audiobook girly. So we're trying it out this month, and we're trying it out with some cozy fall romance books. So the 2 books I have checked out for audiobooks are The Pumpkin Spice Cafe and then the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. I think that's what it's called. Anyways, these are, I think, an interconnected world of a small town kind of romance. These girls, they own a cafe and a bookstore, and I think it's just kind of Hallmark vibes, fall vibes. I think it's going to get me into the fall mood. I think they're going to be light, easy reads and something easy to start with audiobooks, where if I do space out for 10 seconds, it's not gonna I'm gonna miss this extremely important name or plot point that is very precise and only mentioned a couple times in a fantasy book. I think it will be okay if I miss a few things in these books. That's what we're starting out with. Then next, I'm going to be reading The Spell Shop. Now, I've been seeing this posted and it seems like a cozy romantasy, but I'm going to read actually through the excerpt or the blurb because I actually have no idea what this is about. Yeah, so it is a lush cottage core full of stolen spellbooks, unexpected friendships, sweet jams, and even sweeter love. It's basically about a librarian. She has a sentient plant and she preserves spellbooks for the elite in society. The library goes up in flames and she basically takes refuge in her hometown. It literally says it's like a Hallmark rom-com full of mythical creatures and fueled by cinnamon rolls and magic. I just think that sounds like quintessential fall. It sounds like the perfect blend of romantasy, which I love, and a little bit of that Hallmarky rom-com romance vibe. So I think I'm gonna enjoy it. Do I think it's gonna be a 10 out of 10 my favorite book of the year? Probably not, but I think it's gonna be a cutesy, fun little read, and I love interspersing those between my more heavy fantasy books. My final romance heavy book is going to be Battle of the Bookstores. I don't know what this is about. I thought it was really cute. I think basically the main characters are battling with each other and they own bookstores. So I think that it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a rom-com vibe, and again, something to just intersperse between these different books. So if you've had it, if you've read it, please let me know. Did you love it? I've seen a couple people post and say they really enjoyed it, so I just thought, why not? I need another light rom-com to throw into the mix. So my next book is a very highly anticipated book. I don't know for myself, but for the rest of the world, and that is R.F. Kuang's new book, which is Catabasis or Catabasis, people pronounce it differently. But anyways, I got this in my Fairy Loot box. Look how stunning. It's like a light pink. So beautiful. Anyways, I am really intrigued by this book. People have said it's kind of similar or kind of lightly based around Dante's Inferno. We basically have these two main characters that go down into hell, and there's different layers of hell because one of the main characters, I think she needs like a letter of recommendation or something from someone who's dead. So this is very academic heavy. I know R.F. Kuang has done a ton of research to write this book, and I've heard lots of people talk about how they've had to take notes, they've had to look things up, they've had to reread over and over again things to get through this book, and they compare it very similarly to a textbook. So I've seen lots of mixed reviews on this, and I don't know if it's going to be my vibe. I'm kind of someone that likes to escape into a book and not have to think a lot in a book. I find with thinking in books, I'm not like, trying to be mindless, but a lot of times I'm trying to escape from like a long work day. And so having to think a lot will be difficult, but I think it's also a good challenge to myself to like read something that isn't easy to read and actually makes me think and use like my intellect to get through it and to research and understand it. And I'm excited for a challenge. I feel like we don't challenge ourselves in like literature as much after, a certain age, because again, a lot of times we're looking for an escape. So I'm definitely not saying I don't want to escape. I think all my other books are an escape for me, but I do want to bring in this book as a challenge. And I think it's going to be interesting. We'll see if I like it or not, but I'm trying to commit to this for September. My next book is another adult fairy loot book that I got, and that is A Dance of Lies. Look at this edition. It is so stunning, guys. I'm truly like obsessed with it. But anyways, I have been so excited about this book. I saw so many people get the arc of this and post about it. Now, I posted I was going to read this and people have been saying they have mixed feelings on it, but from what I saw from before, people were really enjoying it. And basically it's a romantasy. She is a dancer that has been employed by the king to be a spy. So, I mean, that already sounds incredible already. I love stories about spies. I love stories about dancers. I danced when I was young. And so I think I'm really gonna enjoy it. Again, just another fun romantasy. So I'm excited to read this. I really hope it's good. I have no idea if this is a series or a standalone, but I'm excited for it. Okay, next book we have is Sword Heart. So I have not seen a lot of people post about this book, but the people that have said they really enjoyed the story. And when I read the inside cover of what it was about, I thought it sounded so intriguing and so unique. And so I really wanted to pick it up. It's about our female main character. She is widowed and inherits an estate where she stumbles upon this sword that basically inhabits like an immortal warrior that's trapped in it, and he is sworn to protect whoever has the sword. I'm really excited about this book. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a unique read. It's been on my TBR for a couple months. I think I bought it back in July or June when there was a sale going on at the store, and I think it's just interesting. I think it's going to be something unique, and yeah, I can't read it. I can't wait to read it. If you have read this, comment below, let me know if you loved it or not. The next book, this came in my Fairy Loot YA book box. Again, just the most stunning book. I have to show you the inside book cover because it is so beautiful, but it's called The Nightblood Prince. This is an Asian romance where we have our main character, and she basically is born under this prophecy where she's going to be the empress of all empresses. There is a love triangle in this. I'm actually someone that loves a love triangle. I think it brings a lot of interest into the plot. I love cheering someone on. I love hating on someone else that I don't want the character to be with. I think it just adds some excitement to the book. So I'm really excited to read this book. Fairy Loot has been doing a really great job at the books that they've been putting out this year. I have enjoyed the majority of them, so I have really high hopes for this. It also doesn't seem too long. It's just under 400 pages, so I think I'm going to be able able to get through it in September, and I'm excited for it. So my last books that I have, I said before that I read A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly on Kindle Unlimited in August, so I'm going to be reading the next 2 books in September. Not many thoughts on this other than I'm just excited for the vibe read. I'm excited to continue the story. We'll see if I get to the 3rd book or not. Like I said, I didn't absolutely love and froth at the mouth for the first book. So if I kind of find myself falling off, I'm never someone that feels like I have to finish a series if I'm not enjoying myself, or even a book. Like, I DNF books all the time if I'm not feeling them, because like I said, there's a million books that I want to read on my TBR, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to trudge through one that I'm not enjoying. I also have The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, checked out from Libby. I'm excited to read this. I think this is I don't even know how you say it, Dramione? Draco and Hermione, like, fan fiction type book. So I'm excited for it. I love an enemies to lovers book. So I don't think it's going to be like the greatest book or the greatest plot or read or most well-written book of the year that I read, but I think it's just going to be fun. I think hopefully it's going to be cutesy. Hopefully it's a fun, like, enemies to lovers and nod to Draco and Hermione. So I'm excited for it. I did read the other Draco and Hermione fan fiction that came out this year, which was Rose in Chains, and I actually didn't really love it, which a lot of people did. So I'm hoping this one will be like the Draco Hermione fan fiction that is for me. So excited for it. Whew. So that was all of the books that I read in August and what I'm going to try to read in September. Thank you for sitting and listening to me if you watched all of this, because I just talked for way too long. Anyways, I hope your TBR is full of incredible books. Add some of these if you don't know what to read next, and please comment below, what are you reading for September? What are other books I need to add to my TBR immediately that you're absolutely obsessed with? And if you've read any of these books, let me know if you loved it or not, but please no spoilers in the comments, even for the books that I read in August, because I want this to be a spoiler-free video. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please think about commenting, think about subscribing. I'd love to have you here. Yeah, let's just chat more books. Okay, bye.